Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. We're gonna talk about ambiorix yet again. I want to go through briefly the example app that I built using the framework, which is a URL shortener. We're not gonna rebuild everything in this video. I'm gonna try and keep it short, but I want to demonstrate how it works somewhat internally, because it's something that when I set off thought would be complicated. It was amazingly simple, at least in my mind. So what am I talking about exactly? I'm talking about rrr.is. First time I have to say that out loud, I realize how awkward it is, but bear with me. It's quite difficult to come up with an affordable short domain name. So how does it work? Well, it's very simple. The homepage doesn't say too much, right? You can register or log in or click start, take you to the registration page, but I'm gonna log in, that should be good. And this is what we have. So we can shorten URLs and we get the stats for them here. So April the 8th, what is it today? The 8th. Oh, someone clicked that thing today. But if I click it again, I get redirected to this home page. That should increment to 2, yes. If I go to this URL, I should be redirected to Google. Lovely, so that works. And again, we check the stats. There was a click on it right now. So it's pretty neat, but what I want to talk about really is just this bit. And we're going to reprogram it to get it right now. So I'm going to start, I'm not going to do a package here. I'm going to keep things simple. We're just going to do loose files. So first, I'm going to simply going to have a map.r and zoom in so that people can see it on the screen. Does that look big enough? Hopefully it is. I can just hide this. We're not going to really need it. So again, we'll start by importing ambiorix. We create a new app like so. We're gonna put a simple handler on the first slash the home page here. Yes, like so, which is just gonna send hello for now, just so that we can check that everything works as expected. One thing I'm gonna do in this video is, in this app is, normally we run it like this and we get a random port. And since I shorten URLs, I want to give the user a specific URL, so I'm going to set the port to something. 8080. I'll pick whichever you like, but I'm going to do 8080 like this, and we see hello. Lovely. That works. So how is the URL shortener working? Well, essentially, the idea is very simple. We provide a simple form for the user to enter the URL and submit it. When they submit the URL, we just create a short hash. The idea is to keep it short, because obviously, otherwise it's no URL shortener, but URL longener, if it's a word. And then we can have another handler that looks at those hashes when they come in, when it comes at / something. We look at that something against our table of shortened URLs and simply redirect to the correct URL. So we're gonna have on the home page, we're gonna create a file. I'm gonna create a words index.html in which I'm gonna place the form. It's just gonna be the home page title document. It doesn't matter. We're just gonna have a simple form that's gonna post on the action. It's gonna post on the home page. We're gonna type form data. Right, and in here we're gonna need two things. We're gonna need an input text, which is gonna have the name of URL ID. I don't need that. And then we're just gonna have a submit button, which says it's gonna read shorten. Right. Now that I have this form here, that's gonna take this data, so just the URL essentially, and post it to the first slash with this multi-part encoding. The first thing I need to do here is render this index.html. Apologize. And as per usual, baby steps, we check that this works. Okay, so we get a post shorten, it posts. We see in the log, it posts it there, but I don't have a handler on this. So, fairly simple. We're gonna have post on this, right, res. And here, I'm gonna first have to get the data, which is from the request. I'm gonna parse the multi-part data, like so. That should give me the multi-part data that I'm after. I'm gonna need a function to create the hash. I'm just gonna create hash. As you might have seen, essentially here, I allow people to set the one they want, but here we're gonna create a random one. And I'm gonna do something fairly simple. I'm gonna take letters, we're gonna sample 4 of them, and then we're going to collapse that into a single string so that we obtain a function that does that. So that created this short hash of 4 letters. If I run it again, I get another hash. Obviously, again, if you want to deploy something like that, you wouldn't probably wouldn't do it like this, or at least check that the hash is not actually existing in your table already. Right. So when the form, when people post a form, we have this handler runs, get the data. We're gonna have a hash. It's gonna run create hash. Then I'm also gonna have a small table here. I'm just gonna do everything in memory. So we're gonna have a small table that's gonna store all of that stuff. So we're gonna create a new row here. It's gonna be data.frame, and what I have is the original URL, which we get from the form, so from the body URL, because I named it URL. And then we have the hash. And the hash, if I can spell it, the hash is right here. And then what we do simply is align the data.frame URLs new row. Then we can return a response. And so essentially I can return the same response now, but we'll see obviously an obvious limitation of this right now. So if I run this, we get this. Let's shorten Bulma. If I shorten, it seemed to have worked, and he re-rendered this, but the user has no way of knowing what that URL is, obviously. So one thing I can do here, in a p tag, we're gonna render the URL. So this is a special tag in the render. You can read that in the documentation. But essentially now in my render function, I can pass data. How did I name that again? I always forget. URL. URL is equals to, when people visit the home page, there's no shortened URL yet, right? So that's what we're gonna render. Over here, however, we can render the new URL so people can easily access it. So what we have is http localhost 8080. That's why I put set the fixed port, and then followed by the. So now we shorten URLs. when people post it, we create a hash, we store it in our table, and then we re-render with the shortened URL. So if I do this and I click shorten, I should see below it the shortened URL, and I do. However, if I visit that, we should get a portal 4, yeah, because we're not handling this at all at the moment. So, and this is the bit that I was expecting to be difficult, but it's surprisingly easy. Using, so this time is a get, and here we're going to use the parameters. So I expect it to be followed by hash, request, response. Now when we get this, this hash parameter is gonna be available at the requests, like so. So this is gonna be my, if I can type, this is gonna be my hash, right? Then what I have to do is get the original URL. So that should be in the URLs object, and I'm gonna filter URLs hash is equal to my hash, and then I fetch the original URL. Then on the response, I have to change the status because status is not what I want. Is there a MTN? Yeah, here. Their redirection messages generally 300 to 399. I'm not gonna tell you which one you should use because I don't want to confuse you with my own misunderstandings. So let's leave it like that. So I'm just gonna use 301, and then what we can do is simply redirect, and we redirect to the URL. And you know what, I'm gonna do a quick quality of life thing here, render an A tag. It's stupid. Wow. We can copy paste things, let's not be lazy. So we shorten Bulma, we should see the URL that shortens Bulma. And normally when I visit this here, I should be redirected to Bulma. There you go, that's simple. If you want to collect data, you can have an additional count or something that increment when people visit this hash. We can try this further. Ambiorix. That should get me to ambiorix.dev. Great. So essentially, this is the core mechanic that sits behind this rrr.is service that I built quickly, which uses ambiorix as the framework and is deployed with the Belgic load balancer for ambiorix. So yeah, I hope that was somewhat informative. I think it's quite neat because you realize how easy it is to actually, well, build one of those services, or at least a simplistic one like we do here. So yeah, cheers.